Welcome back to Truth Hurts, where we expose corrupt politicians and the lying corporate media. I'm Jake Duesenberg, your host, broadcasting live from Roseville, Minnesota, in the belly of the beast, the liberal zombie apocalypse of Minneapolis and St. Paul. Joining me, as usual, Mr. MAGA Jesse. How you doing there, buddy?
Doing good. Yeah, we've already got Bill Dangsman and Napkin 8, Rodeo 55 in the comments. Appreciate seeing you guys there. We've got a great show lined up for you guys. We'll be talking about the real Tim Walz, how he's playing this fun dad vibe character while running for VP, but we'll talk about the real angry version of himself that he is. We'll be talking about his radical record. We'll be talking about some battleground states, and then we'll be doing a review on Am I Racist? And we also got Tucker91 in the comments. We got Napkin 8 saying, Stinky Finky has a little dinky. Well, and you know what? I got some, maybe I'll save it for the post show, but I got a concept of a plan on something with Finky. I don't even know if I've run it by Jake completely yet. So,
I haven't heard this.
There's something to discuss there. And as a member of that district, as a resident, as a constituent, maybe there's something that we can do about it.
All right. I'm looking forward to that. If you want to be part of our after show, you can, is it post show? After show? I keep saying both ones, whatever it is. You can go and hit join on our Rumble page and become a subscriber. That helps support the show. Also supporting the show, our Rumble rant. You can interrupt us at any time in the comment section. We'll mostly be looking at Rumble, but if you're on YouTube or Facebook, maybe we'll get to your comments. We couldn't do this show without our great sponsors, Warren Wessel of Keller Williams Realty. If you're looking for a home or you want to sell your home, give my good friend Warren a call at 612-419-7453. Warren's not only a great realtor and a guy who thinks like you and me, but he also sings in my church choir. I think he's a baritone. I don't hear him too often, which means he's not making mistakes. And I don't think he ever does solos. But he'll sell the shit out of your home. Give Warren a call. And if you're buying a home, give the good guys at John Galt Mortgage Company a chance at closing on that home with you. You can go to johngaltmortgage.com. Check out their Facebook or their Twitter page. It's top-notch. Great stuff. Guys that think like you and me. That's our sponsors. The people that believe in the things you and I believe in and are willing to put their money where their mouth's at. Also, thank you to Alpine Cabinetry in St. Cloud, Minnesota. All right. This is the video that I think a lot of you guys have probably seen. This is Tim Walz coming off the jet in Michigan, in Ann Arbor, Michigan, for the the Gophers versus Wolverines game. What is with us northern states? We got the Badgers, Gophers, Wolverines. Like, what do we like all these little furry mammals? I don't know. I must go back to the trapping days, right? Mm-hmm. College football goes that old. So anyhow, we watched a game, a closer game than a lot of people would have thought. The ranked Michigan squad actually had a 3-point victory over Minnesota. I'm not a Gophers fan, by the way.
I was watching NFL. I don't watch college football.
Yeah. You know, if you're watching this from like down south, we're just not as big I mean, isn't this known? This might not be known, but we're just not as big a college football fans up here, right?
What? Like Gopher country? Like that kind of stuff?
Yeah, I mean, like down south, it is college football. Like, I mean, you can understand like places
Louisiana,
like Alabama.
Right.
Yeah, they don't actually have a professional team.
I guess so. All I know is that, I mean, I spent the latter half of my college days working for the Gopher football team. So,
oh, yeah, you're inside.
Yeah, that's probably what.
Yeah, because like working here, you'd be like, oh my God, everyone's so conservative. Everyone's so liberty-minded. It's like, no, if you get out, I mean, obviously the country's very split. All right, so this is Tim Walz. As people are learning about him, nationally, people are learning who this Tim Walz guy is. This is him coming off the plane at a airport in Ann Arbor, Michigan. Go ahead and play this thing. And I don't know if we even have audio on it. No, not this one. Nope, we're ahead of the game. A1 there, Dawson.
Oh, okay.
It should be at timestamp to 122. That's Angry Walz. We're going to get into Angry Walz, but I want to show you. Oh, there we go. That's Barack Obama telling us chip in $5. All right, here we go. This is Happy Go Lucky Walz. Daughter, then Gwen.
There's not really any audio.
Now watch this guy. This flamboyant, happy. Oh, geez, golly. Look at me. Yay, clap. Bounce down the staircase. There you go. I wonder if Craig Kruckerberg makes those ones. Craig that owns Steiner. He makes the staircases for, he's been on the show. He makes staircases the president uses. Look at this. This is just not normal behavior. Although you kind of understand it campaigning, right? Like, you're trying to be joyous, and they're trying to sell him as this jolly old guy, you know. Awkward hug. She seems very uninterested in him. Going for another hug. She still seems more interested in Gwen. Tim Walz, let me go somewhere else. Yeah, I'm not really like, okay. So you guys get it. This is old shucks. I'm the dad coach kind of thing. That's what the Kamala campaign. I don't know if I can watch that one. Ooh, you know, like
Yeah.
reminds me of that Hillary when she's watching the balloons.
Yeah.
Ooh. So this is the happy-go-lucky Tim Walz. It's basically all we have seen on the campaign trail, barring this alleged middle finger he gave Wolverines fans. We did a video breakdown. It was inconclusive, although Dawson thinks it's definitely not a middle finger.
That's crazy.
So middle finger gate over here at headquarters.
That's crazy.
I think it's inconclusive. Jesse thinks it's inconclusive.
And they're
even
both
if he
wrong.
was, by the way, Dawson, even if he was given middle finger to,
He wasn't.
What's that?
He wasn't, right?
Do we have to play
You
the
don't
video?
know.
Do we have to play the
Oh my!
video?
I can't believe that you guys looked at it with your own eyes and you have convinced yourself otherwise.
All right.
No,
okay.
that's the thing.
Let's get a
I'm
sample
not-
from everybody.
Yeah, I'm not convinced otherwise. And, you know, I guess we should maybe wait until we watch the video to discuss it. But
Do we have it in here?
Just go ahead. Google it on YouTube or YouTube it on. Look at that. Google owns the term search. I just said Google it on YouTube. Search it on YouTube. That's how good they are. So just put Tim Walz. I don't know, Michigan fans, middle finger. And look, they give you a disclaimer too. They got Snopes. Isn't that funny? So go ahead and play the video right there. Go down, Dawson. Yeah, that one right there. This is him allegedly giving a middle finger right there. Very hard to see. Right
It's
there.
going to be very hard to
Can
see.
you zoom in on that?
So barely, and also people at home are going to be seeing something even worse than what we do. So
Yeah, see, this is what's alleged as the middle finger. What do you guys think at home? Snopes pretends to believe they've got it right. In the comment section, I'd love to hear what you guys think on this one. Okay, this is Snopes. Here's the trick Snopes is playing. So they apparently have a enhanced video, or they tried to clean it up a little bit, and they're suggesting that it was the right here. It's actually the index finger. Okay. This one, to me, is not so conclusive, but in that case, it looks like the index finger over the middle finger. Mm-hmm. If you go to a couple frames to the right of that, it looks more like a middle finger. So it's like, even that, to me, this is Snopes, right? Mm-hmm. They're not being honest here. They're just making it conclusive by one still frame of it. Mm-hmm. Love Minnesota said he's very clearly giving the middle finger. I wouldn't even go that far. I don't know if it's clear. Mm-hmm. I just think it's not clear. We can tell.
Right. I think it's not clear either. I think that it could be the index finger for, I mean, according to that higher quality video picture screenshot right there, it looks like the index finger to me. But of course, if you continue to watch the video, it looks even more like it's in the middle of the hand than it does right there. So, I think that Snopes is jumping the gun. They obviously want to have Walz's back. They'd have his back no matter what the story is. So, I'm not conclusively saying that he gave them the middle finger, but it's possible. It certainly looks like it.
If you scroll down, they are trying to piece this together because he's pointing. That is not a still image of the same scene as we looked at it.
Which is what they say right here.
Very limp wrist, left arm. So they're saying he was already pointing up there. And then it moves ahead. See, this is my opinion, although this is subjective, obviously, Dawson. But it's that they're trying to pull a trick on us here.
They're trying to offer context. He's pointing to the right, and then he points to the left. Why wouldn't he? Why would he point?
Both.
Why would he point to the right and then?
But he drops
give the bird to the
he drops
left?
both hands, and then he comes back up after they yell Trump 2024.
Specifically to give a middle finger in front of a camera, in front of all of his press, in front of everybody watching.
Which in my opinion really doesn't mean anything. And I think he's probably still smiling because it's just like, give a middle finger. Like, this is the one argument against it is who gives the middle finger going like this, usually turn it around.
That is one argument against it. Also, the picture of him pointing with his forefinger, but
inconclusive in my opinion. Okay,
so here's
why this doesn't even matter.
Question mark?
Here's why it doesn't matter. Because I don't think this shows angry Walz. the reason that a lot of people jump on it is because they actually know there's an angry Walz behind it. So let's get into the story of the Tim Walz we know, because we don't know this Tim Walz that's just happy-go-lucky, flamboyantly waving at crowds and stuff like that. I don't know. Maybe he's on that same kind of stuff they gave Joe Biden, those little pills, I don't know. But I'm doubting it, right? The big deal is this guy's actually got anger issues. And this has been really well known for some time that this guy's got anger issues. So we wanted to break down a couple of the videos that we see being, I guess, the most notable ones of him losing his temper. This one is probably one of the best ones. This is him. This is, I think, 2021, Jesse. This is him, like, using some, like, a hospital backdrop. He's talking about getting vaccines. Yeah, I know it's 2021 because it's towards the end of the legislative session where that con artist, Paul Gazelka, who's selling a book acting like he was some tough man against Tim Walz. We had to pressure Gazelka and the Senate Republicans. That's how bad the Republicans are in the state. We had to pressure them to actually hold to the line and make sure that they don't pass a budget without a concession by Walz on ending his emergency powers and having absolutely no vaccine mandates. By the way, there was a vaccine mandate for state employees, and they literally instituted a vaccine passport in the city of Minneapolis. It was very short-lived. It was so refuted. Business owners were up in arms about it, but it was instituted in the city of Minneapolis. And in this clip, Tim Walz says it was not even a thing. It was made up, which is such a lie. But here you go. This is Walz losing his temper in front of the press. The press who's just asking a question is getting mad at the press, which are basically on his side.
Let's be very clear. There is no state of emergency. Sending a letter demanding a change to the state of emergency is chasing whatever on that. Did that letter mention COVID and the crisis we're in, can I ask? It just came over on my way over here. Understand that a letter was fired off because they knew I was standing here at North Memorial, and it looks absolutely horrific that they're not doing anything. So they fire a letter over and say the governor needs to change emergency powers. We're not in a damn emergency power situation. We're in a healthcare crisis that they can act upon. So I don't know. The offer was to eliminate the governor's ability to respond to any emergency. They wanted an absolute ban on vaccine passports, which we don't have a damn vaccine passport, so quit pretending on the politics. So my patience level is gone, and some of you know me. I taught school long enough to know I don't usually get to that point. But go stand up there and listen to what they said and look at that person in that bed and tell me you're talking about some fake emergency powers thing because you think it has a political payoff for you. I don't have time for it. I definitely know that emergency room physician doesn't have time for it, and Minnesotans don't. So ridiculous. There is no state of emergency. I'm not using emergency powers. So instead of going back, how about you authorize the ability of the waiver to have more beds that relieves the pressure? That could happen today. That's all I'm asking.
Governor,
Yeah, okay, and that's good enough. I mean, he goes on, he's still angry, but I mean, not just angry, but lying through his teeth. He still has his emergency powers at this standpoint. It's like, why do you have emergency powers? So you could just institute anything you want, and our fear is that he's going to make a mass vaccine, I shouldn't even call it vaccine, COVID shot mandate, like Joe Biden was doing with 100,000 workers across, I'm sorry, what was it? If you had a company over 100?
over 100 employees.
Yeah, I'm just off today.
That were regulated by OSHA.
Right, there you go. So, and then also in hospitals. And that one actually didn't get overpowered. But this was actually happening in the state of Minnesota. By the way, I would hope my governor would stand up to the federal government and say, not in this state. And that's not what he was doing. So he still had emergency powers, right? So this guy, yeah, we weren't shut down at this standpoint, but he had shut down the state twice. So who's to tell he wasn't going to do that a third time? And by the way, on the second shutdown, he threw a lady in jail. Lisa Hanson went to jail because she didn't follow his orders and she served a cup of coffee. So that is a legit issue with him, and he loses his temper. By the way, I don't think it's a problem to lose your temper in politics or to at least make hard points. It's just that this is like literally this acting job he's doing is so uncharacteristic of the Tim Walz that we know. And I also argue that the things he loses his temper over are not the fact that people are going against your freedom. It's the fact that he doesn't like people going up against his power. Here's him on a gun control tirade. This is A3 Dawson, where he's upset about anyone's suggestion that we don't we don't have the government take our guns away, which, by the way, on the campaign trail, Kamal and him are gun owners, if you didn't know that. They're gun owners, and they're not going to take anyone's guns away, even though they are going to take guns away. So here's him saying he's going to take guns away, essentially.
I'm going to make note of this. You are not getting off the hook at the next election if you vote no on this. You are not getting off the hook about us coming out there and making the case that 92% of people, and I don't even care in the most conservative of districts, it's well over 60% of people know this. You are not going to frame this that this is taking your guns, because I'm going to frame it that you're not sticking up for our children, that you're not doing things that, for goodness sakes, Republicans in Florida passed this. Quit it. Quit it. This is not a 34 vote type of situation. You are the ones that need to be asking why you're not going to vote for this.
Don't you just love it? It's like the angry teacher. He's so sick of the kids like disrupting class, and he just that's what comes out. So I can kind of see that teacher in them.
Well, and he's complaining the Republicans have this framing, and I won't accept it, so I'm going to use my own dishonest framing to set the stage. It's like you're just admitting that you're guilty of what you accuse the Republicans of just trying to use a talking point, a framework to debate an issue rather than the idea itself.
Yeah, exactly. And by the way, he doesn't even need the Republican votes. It's I mean, like, you have to understand, like, they just did whatever the hell they wanted to do. And the press is awful in Minnesota. Like, the fact that we didn't even know half of these things about Tim Walz until he ran for VP, it just shows you how bad and lazy our press is. And yet he still loses it over a very friendly press, which is so interesting to me. Here is Tim Walz confronting a protester. I can't remember the exact circumstance on this one. I think this was during COVID. Well, clearly, because he's wearing a stupid face diaper. This is Tim Walz yelling at a protester. I was holding up a sign that said, Tim Walz is a weasel.
I said there are people that think Greater Minnesota is rocks and cows, and they are wrong, because it is so much more than that. Well, why would they cut it? Say that? I said there are people that think.
So
Greater
I mean,
Minnesota.
he just You can see it all over the place. This is a conversation about a famous line that Tim Walz said. Many people that don't know this that are outside of the state of Minnesota. He referred. He's made some off-cuff remarks. They're dumb comments. One of them was that if you go outside of the Twin Cities, the rest of Minnesota is just rocks and cows. And so a lot of people in Greater Minnesota take pride in the communities outside of Minneapolis and St. Paul, because this is a big divide in Minnesota, is that you're losing a lot of the younger generations to the cities, and the cities are exploding, whereas in rural Minnesota is dying, especially northern Minnesota. And for him to just like throw it off as rocks and cows territory is now like a badge of honor. There's a group called Rocks and Cows Minnesota. We've had Jay on the show before. So yeah, Tim Walz is being confronted by a guy that obviously remembers that remark, and he loses his cool over that. One other one we found, this is losing his cool at Farm Fest, and apparently I guess the crowd wasn't very much in favor of him because, I don't know, they're in Rocks and Cows territory, Farm Fest. This is him with a debate with Scott Jensen at Farm Fest. And by the way, debate is a real loose term. It's a forum, essentially. There's no debates in Minnesota. They just have forums. Go ahead, play the clip of him losing it at Farm Fest.
We're facing challenges. When we face challenges, the solution is not to divide more of us. It's to come together. I'm proud in Minnesota that we were able to do that. Keeping our death rates from COVID the lowest 10 in the nation upstate. Keeping our... Please,
we can't have angry people.
When we face
just
challenges,
going to roll that through again. So, I mean, Tim Walz, this is the Tim Walz we know of. And there's plenty more clips, especially ones in press conferences. It's amazing how much he loses cool in press conferences, of all things. So, when he gets to these rallies...
He doesn't even have a confrontational person coming after him at that point. He's just standing there talking, and he's got the media and the press that's, handing him easy softball questions. So it'll be very interesting to see how quickly he loses his cool against J.D. Vance. And I think that if J.D. Vance picks the right issues, there's a ton to go after Walz on. If he picks the late-term abortions, if he picks the transgender issues, if he picks, the stolen valor, there's going to be so much that Walz is not going to be ready for. And I think that, Walz, he's probably pulling the Kamala strategy. He's probably preparing like hell, probably memorizing everything he can because he's not going to be natural in this moment. But I think J.D. Vance, he's got the practice. He's prepared. I think that we're going to see an easy win for him against Walz, but hopefully he's not underestimating Walz either.
Yeah, it'd be interesting. Walz was brought in my opinion, to kind of talk to the left base, the left flank of the Democrat Party, which is becoming a big part of their agenda these days. And I don't know if Tim Walz is going to want to lean into that side because we don't want to scare away the independent voters. So let's get into Walz's radical record. I want to bring up a couple of the issues I thought were really important for people to understand on the verge of this big debate, the big VP debate. By the way, I think we have to understand the stakes here for Minnesotans. If Tim Walz and Kamala do win, we get Peggy Flanagan as governor. Like, not only have you allowed this awful China-loving, COVID authoritarian, transgender surgery advocate politician to get into the second highest office in the land, you're going to promote a radical lieutenant governor who really is just unimpressive in many regards, and she's actually part of this first story. So let's go pull up the B1, Dawson. This is, to me, the most radical thing of all. I mean, it's so hard to pick. But before it even became law, this is March 8th of 2023, Tim Walz signed an executive order, and what it did was said if a parent in another state doesn't want their child getting either surgeries, which I think are pretty irregular or pretty uncommon, or puberty blockers. And by the way, there's no age, but we know at this press conference, that one looks like a 12-year-old. He had, I think, 2 6-year-olds on the stage. This is actually a boy, okay, dressed up as a girl on stage, handing the pen. So he's using children as props, right? And talking about they should be free to get, first of all, it was already legal to do this heinous act of puberty blockers and transgender surgeries for minors. That should just be illegal. You can't let a child, a minor, get a tattoo in the state. Why are we allowing them to change the trajectory of their maturity, sexual maturity? It's absolutely asinine. So what he did is he signed an executive order before they even changed the law, and we'll get to that because they did change the law, that it made it illegal said that a Minnesota state government will not comply with any kind of subpoenas or anything from another state that's trying to protect this child. So just imagine you have divorced parents and they live in different states, and one state is a state that won't allow this act and says it's illegal to do this to a child, especially if both parents aren't in agreement. Like, can you imagine one parent saying, I think we should transition our boy to a girl, and the other parent's like, no. And the one parent that says yes gets to win on that issue. That's freaking asinine. I mean, just imagine if it's tattoos.
For it to be in Minnesota, it'd be even worse for it to happen to the entire country. If the entire country was a sanctuary country for mutilating children, that'd be thanks to Kamala, thanks to Walz. That's why there's that one Trump ad. Kamala's for they, them. Trump is for you.
Yeah. Oh God, that was a good ad. All right, scroll down to the bottom. You can see the thing that we covered, and it didn't seem to catch on until we had talked about this at the time. This is a shirt that our lieutenant governor, so she'll become the governor of Minnesota if Walz wins in November. And it says, protect trans kids. And it's got a knife on it. It's got a bayonet. Like, what the hell does that even mean? It's never been explained. She's never had to answer to it. This is Tim Walz as lieutenant governor, wearing a shirt, in many regards, seeming to say that there's violence that ensues if we don't, or in order to protect whatever a trans kid is, right? Which is absolutely crazy. So then go to the A2, Dawson. This bill actually ends up passing the legislature. Where did it go on my screen? So Tim Walz, and this is April 28th, signs genital mutilation sanctuary bill into law. This is HF 146 if you want to look at it. And this is him signing it with Stinky Finky, Lee Finky, the transgender in the Minnesota House, and then essentially made it state law where children can be taken from a parent in another state, and because of the wishes of one parent, be forced to get this procedure. They do happen. We've reported on it before. We could probably go back and talk about that some more. But there is a doctor that they've been bringing out, I think it was in the other article, that does these surgeries. And there was actually a profile on this doctor.
Is he giving her lemon bars right now?
Dr. Kelsey Leonard Smith. But there's another one too. What's that?
Is he giving her lemon bars right now?
It looks like it's probably the lemon bar day.
Nice.
Yeah.
They strike.
Well, no, it can't be because it's not the same one as Mort because they're not wearing masks.
Oh, okay.
This is 2023, Dawson.
He's just a fan of lemon bars, I guess.
Yeah. Plus, Lee Finke wasn't there until 2023. That would have been the first year.
Gotcha.
Because he's a freshman. All right. The another radical record of Tim Walz, and we just covered it, is obviously COVID authoritarianism. Just so you understand, if you're watching this for the first time, a lot of you guys watch the show, you know this, okay? Tim Walz used executive orders to put COVID patients in nursing homes. He locked people in their homes, like literally said there was essential, non-essential, and then on the same breath will say we're one Minnesota. But he said there's essential, non-essential workers. You can't leave your home. You could be fined up to $1,000 or put in jail for 90 days. One person actually was put in jail eventually for 90 days. He shut down our economy twice, got rid of bars, restaurants, big superstores wide open. Liquor stores always open. He shut down churches, religious areas, even though liquor stores, once again, wide open. This is Tim Walz's record. He instituted mask mandates in August of 2020. No science that backs that mask mandates, cloth masks, and then also instituted vaccine mandates for state employees. That's Tim Walz's COVID authoritarianism record. Another one, and we've talked about this on the show. This one we actually broke a story. Action for Liberty did. This is the B3. This is a bill that Tim Walz signed into law that allowed pedophilia essentially to become a sexual orientation. And this is, once again, a bill I think Lee Finke's hands are all over. I mean, if that person's not a massive problem.
Oh, well, I mean, that's the thing. It got added into the, big omnibus bill, but it was a bill that was created by Finke and the Queer Caucus, all them.
Oh, that's right.
And I think it was actually Dibble. I think Dibble was the main fighter for the pedophiles. I think Dibble was the one who had the bill before that, but I mean, Finke was just as much an author as anybody else on that. So, and all of the Democrats are guilty of this. Wasn't there only one Democrat in the House who voted against this, I think? But, it's just crazy. Oh, $5 Rumble Rant. We got Tucker. It's Chris Finke. You're right.
All right, we'll change it. Chris Finke.
No more Lee Finke in here. It's Chris
AKA
Finke.
Lee Finke. Yeah.
Is it I don't know enough about him. Is it legally Lee
Yeah,
Finke?
it's legally been changed.
Gotcha.
Yeah, in this case, I don't care. Like, if you want to call yourself Lee, what I won't do is call you a woman because you're not a woman, right? You don't have XX chromosomes. You have XY chromosomes. I think everyone understands that. What the bill did was remove from the definition section of the Minnesota Human Rights Act the line, sexual orientation does not include a physical or sexual attachment to children by an adult. So essentially, Minnesota's Human Rights Act wanted to specify when it was passed into law that sexual orientation can't be discriminated against, but just so you know, pedophilia is not sexual orientation. Just so you know, we're going to make that in law. And Finke and Dibble and Tim Walz signed this law that removed that. And so essentially now in Minnesota statute, there is no specification that if you have a sexual attachment to children and you're an adult, that is not a sexual orientation. Anyone that looks at this could say that's a valid sexual orientation. Otherwise, why the hell would they removed it from law? And what does that mean? And you could read this article. It's at actionforliberty.com. It means that an employer cannot refuse to hire a pedophile or discharge an employee who is a pedophile. By the way, I got to make sure I say this correctly. You still cannot act on pedophilia. So if you actually have sex with a child, that's still against the law. But if you have the proclivities and you're open about it, an employer can't refuse to hire a pedophile. It seems pretty obvious to me that we should just do that. Like you should be able to discriminate against that. But according to Minnesota Human Rights Act, thanks to Walz, you can't. A property owner can't refuse to sell, rent, or lease property to a pedophile. A private company can't refuse to sell goods and services to a pedophile. And this is the big one. A school or college cannot discriminate against a pedophile for the full utilization of benefits from any educational institution. Like, shouldn't a school be able to discriminate against someone that openly is a pedophile. This is what Tim Walz signed into law. A little trick they played by removing language, and the Democrats act like, well, this wasn't a big deal. This was just not even needed in the law. I think it was needed in the law. I think it should,
right.
Because
there's a reason that every single Republican was fighting against this, and there's a reason that Harry Niska was the one who brought it on the floor, and he said, let's fight this. I have an amendment. Let's restore it back to its original place, and that way we're not trying to confuse it and show the pedophilia is somehow okay. Harry Niska, pushes that amendment. They pass it unanimously. Right. Even Finke is on board with it, and Finke's, going along with it. They bring it to the what do you call it? The committee. Conference committee. They push it to the conference committee. They throw it right back in there. And then the Democrats, since you can't do any more amendments, the Democrats just pass it right through. And it's crazy that, that's enough right there. Aside from it being an unconstitutional gun control omnibus bill, that's alone right there. You could just say, hey, look, this thing's protecting pedophilia. That's enough for Walz to say he should have vetoed it. So he has to stand by everything within his record. Protecting pedophiles is 100% in his record. He could have done something about it. He could have vetoed it. He could have led the charge to stop the radical Democrat agenda on pedophilia, but instead he went right along with it.
Exactly. All right, you added a couple of this list. There's an educational appointment by Walz. This should be possibly something that gets brought up today on the debate.
Right, absolutely. Go ahead and pull up that article, Dawson, because this is something that has been gaining a little bit of attention recently, because there is an individual named Brian Lozensky who was chosen by Walz to help write the education framework for ethnic studies in public schools. And come to find out, this guy is a radical critical race theorist. Go ahead and scroll down, Dawson, so that we can see the list of the working group members. As you can see, Brian Lozensky is highlighted there. He is a teacher with experience teaching ethnic studies K through 8 in St. Paul Public Schools. So apparently he's not even just a professor, which is his title, that he's a university professor that is teaching ethnic studies. Apparently he's also teaching it to children and has experience doing that. And interestingly, he testified previously before the State House Education Committee, which is linked in here, in support of a bill that was the Ethnic Studies for All bill. They wanted to mandate that ethnic studies be required in order for students to be able to graduate. So you have to listen to the divisive racial propaganda in order to be able to get your diploma. We've got a ton of information on that meeting. And due to it was February 28th, 2023. That's when the committee appearance was by this Brian Lozensky. So 2023. That was a year and 3 months before he was ever appointed to the position by Tim Walz. So that means that that Tim Walz had probably had his eyes lined up on this guy. The fact that this guy felt the need to testify in front of the committee, it seems as if he was in close with the Democrats who were writing this bill. So Lozensky was apparently selected long before this bill was even passed and combined into an unconstitutional omnibus bill. So go ahead and continue to scroll down, Dawson. You can see that is the actual course, course guidance that they have. Continue to scroll down, Dawson. The Senate version of this radical education bill, Senate File 1476, was ultimately added into the unconstitutional multi-subject omnibus bill, the Education Finance Bill, HF 2497. This bill is also known as the Tampons in the Boys Bathroom Bill. This was passed in the Senate by a party line vote, except for Rhino Carla Nelson, who voted with the Democrats.
Not the Patriot Carla Nelson.
Not Patriot. And it passed in the House with no Republicans voting for it and one phony moderate joining in opposition. But Lozensky has admitted even more radical viewpoints in a since-deleted video posted on YouTube by a group called the Solidarity Group. Prior to its deletion, Alpha News was able to capture Lozensky's anti-American rhetoric, and in that video, Lozensky defines critical race theory and why he is a believer in it. He states, quote, "The first tenet of critical race theory is that the United States, as constructed, is irreversibly racist," and further said that the United States government, quote, "then it must be done with. It must be overthrown." So he believes that the United States government should be overthrown. And go back to the article, Dawson. There's one more thing I want to show on there. He's also a board member for the Education of Liberation Network. Scroll down, Dawson. which also has a Minnesota Ed Lib chapter that supports mandating ethnic studies for students, removing resource officers from schools, and they even posted the poem that you can see below on their events page that supports the abolition of cops and prisons. So that's the kind of guy that Walz is selecting and saying that that's who he wants to be making the choices for children's education. That's who he wants to be crafting the education curriculum for students. That's the divisive rhetoric that he wants to force onto children. So he wants to, make sure that these 6-year-olds, they're questioning their gender and they got white guilt. That's the main thing that Walz is going to accomplish, is propagandizing these children rather than actually just trying to give kids a good education, which is math, science, reading, arithmetic, writing. Instead of focusing on the basics, they're trying to put up divisive people like this guy. And as of now, I haven't seen anything that shows that Walz has done anything to remove this guy since all of this news has come out. So I assume that Walz is just going to play dumb. Oh, I didn't know this about this guy. But, if you're going to appoint someone to an education position where they're going to be crafting the policies for children, you better make sure that they're not a radical who wants to overthrow the United States of America.
All right. Speaking of propaganda, there's no place on this planet that loves propaganda more than China. What is this saying about the China Walz DHS stocks? This is something you added to the pre-show planning document, and the more and more we see of it, this. By the way, I don't think anyone has been on this longer than you. You've always called him China Tim Walz, right? Mm-hmm. So what is this all about?
Right. So James Comer, who is the chairman of the House Intelligence Committee, has a subpoena for Secretary Mayorkas, the Homeland Security director. So he's put out this subpoena to Mayorkas. I'm just going to read it. It's pretty short. He says, "Dear Secretary Mayorkas, during the 118th Congress, the Committee on Oversight and Accountability has conducted a government-wide investigation on how federal agencies are addressing the infiltration and influence campaign to weaken and corrupt the United States undertaken by the Chinese Communist Party. The infiltration and influence tactic is one facet of a larger Cold War the CCP utilizes in its unrestricted warfare against America, which the CCP considers its main enemy. During its briefing with over 20 federal agencies in the investigation, the committee has learned the emphasis the CCP has placed on influencing subnational government leaders, including governors. Along those lines, the committee has recently received whistleblower disclosures from the committee of serious concerns regarding the DHS personnel regarding a long-standing connection between the CCP and Minnesota Governor Tim Walz. Specifically, through whistleblower disclosures, the committee has learned of a non-classified Microsoft Teams group chat among DHS employees entitled NST NFT Biweekly Sync that contains information about Governor Walz and its relevant that is relevant to the committee's investigation. The committee has also learned that further relevant information regarding Governor Walz has been memorialized in both classified and unclassified documents in control of the DHS. The attached subpoena requires the DHS to produce these documents and communications regarding Walz's connections with the CCP. This subpoena is pursuing yada, 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 yada. So essentially, they're requesting that all communications, reports, notes, and documents that are related to Tim Walz and his connection to China, which, like you said, I've been calling out for a long time. There's a reason that he was selected by Harvard to go to China. There's a reason that he was a teacher in China. And of course, we can't forget he was called the foreign devil, the big-nosed one by his students. He thinks that was a compliment somehow. I don't think so. We got a $20 Rumble Rant from K-Wall for life. Appreciate that. K-Wall says, because I wanted to. Cheers.
Cheers
Appreciate
to you, K-Wall.
that. But
I saw lovely T-Wall was in the comment section as well, so thank you guys for watching.
But my point here is that there's a reason why Tim Walz was able to make all of these trips to China. There's a reason he was selected and allowed to teach there. He takes all these trips to China. He loves China like nobody else. He's even during the Tiananmen Square.
That's how he governs. He governs like he's in China.
Right, exactly. Following the Tiananmen Square massacre, most Americans would have said, I want nothing to do with China. But what did Tim Walz do? He said, I'm taking that jog and I'm going to go teach there. So that's Tim Walz for you, and I can't wait to see how J.D. Vance plays with that information tonight.
I can't remember if I said this on the show or not. I've definitely talked to some people about it. I kind of had a revelation in China the last couple of years because I was, a advocate for the way China was becoming more market-based, like in the 90s, right? And I'm thinking, this is great. They're getting rid of communism. They're going to a market. And it's, you know, what really enlightened me to this is when they went after Trump in New York and they basically just took his business from him. Like, you know, remember this? It's hard to remember all these stories about Trump. Yeah, like New York said, you can't do business anymore and we're going to take $500 million from you, right? So I was thinking, like, yeah, China's got it figured out. They're still a communist country. They're still in control. But because communism doesn't necessarily work, like taking over the complete markets and price controls, it doesn't work. They allow markets to exist to help boost the economy so it's not so desolate. But at any point, the government can just rein it in. And that's what happens in China. And that's why people, like business owners, are gone missing for a month, you know, and that's why there's really no way to speak out against the regime. And that's why we have very huge issues with doing business with China, because we think it just gets right back to CCP. And I'm thinking about this. I'm like, yeah, that's what China's got. They're really a communist country. They just allow markets to benefit them, but at any point they can rein in. I'm like,
right? You know,
but but hold on, isn't that also America? Like, literally, if you could just take Trump's business from him, like, how are we different? I guess maybe because we actually have jurisdictions that don't do that. But in Manhattan, it's like, I don't know. They pretty much are doing what the CCP is doing. Go ahead. What were you going to say?
Yeah, I mean, this would be the equivalent if J.D. Vance had a bunch of Putin puppets all around him, that he was always going to Russia, that he was obsessed with Russia, that he was, deep in the culture.
Yeah.
That he was, I took a job teaching in Russia.
Yeah.
And, I don't have any connection to Putin. It's all just a coincidence. I just happened to see what was going on there. And, it's all such a bold-faced lie that he obviously loves China. And, I'm sure he would prefer to have that level of power rather than the system that we have in the United States. And, to me, it's the Democrats would be having a heyday if J.D. Vance had the exact same story, but it was Russia. And, it just shows that the media, the Democrats, they don't care that we're getting sold out to China. They don't care that China is going to become the new superpower of the world. And there's nothing we can do about it unless we decide to fight back economically and even maybe with the military.
Yeah, sometimes, Jesse, you just make really good points. That is a great point. Like, if J.D. Vance had this kind of history with Russia, it would be nonstop what they talk about in the media.
He'd be a Putin puppet. He'd be a total propaganda. You can't take a word that he says seriously, but they don't even bring it up when it's China. And, that's the thing. There's a different standard when it comes to China. For whatever reason, the media is obsessed with Russia, but China, who's our real threat, who's the real one, who's on the brink of taking us over as the superpower, for whatever reason, China gets a pass.
Yeah, it's crazy. So let's talk about the election. Trump versus, I almost said Joe Biden. 2 months ago, I wouldn't have been incorrect on that one. Trump versus Kamala. By the way, you see the Saturday Night Live with Kamala? Yeah.
I didn't even want to watch it.
It's like their impressions are good. They brought Jen Gaffigan in for Walz. It's just like, your impressions are good, but you don't really tell jokes from that side. Like, you never really paint them in that bad of light. I mean, this is long standing. It's just typically what they did. Actually, you know what they did go after was Joe Biden. They really ripped into him. And Dana Carvey's got a great impression. But they didn't really go bad against Kamala. They didn't make her look bad. They actually made her look delightful. Obviously, Trump gives you lots of material, but
they made fun of her in the Democrat debates. Back in 2020, they made her look like a joke.
Right? Yeah, exactly. But not now. Now we can't do it. All right. So this is, and I'd love to hear what you guys say at home. Do you like us bringing? I'm thinking we should be giving you, since it's October, it's right before the election. We should be giving you an update on where the battle stands right now in the battleground states. But if you think this is redundant from what else you're seeing, just let us know. Let us know in the comments if you appreciate it. This is a real clear politics average right now. If you look at the battleground states, Trump is actually winning what I think is important. We talked to Cliff Maloney on Friday. I mean, it really comes down to just winning Pennsylvania and Georgia. So in the top battleground states, Trump is winning Arizona. This is as of today, October 1st. All this is in the margin error, just so you know that, okay? So Arizona, he's up by 1.9, the RCP average, that is, okay? Nevada, Harris is up 1.4. Wisconsin, Harris is up by 0.6. Michigan, Harris is up by 1.4. Pennsylvania, Trump's up by 0.1%. North Carolina, Trump is up by 0.6, and Georgia, he's up by 1.5%. Once again, statistical tie, okay? But this is what the RCP average shows. So if you scroll down here, Dawson, you can click on the 2024 Electoral College map. If this held today, being that those slight advantages, they are slight, but if they held up today, not that one, the one on the, where did it go? Is it above it? I wasn't looking at your screen.
It looks good on ours. Sorry that yours is kind of...
Oh, is it not showing? It shows Trump at 281 electoral votes to Harris Walz at 257. Yeah, it's not showing up on that screen there. So anyhow, just go back up to the averages, the chart. So as we've said before, it really comes down to Trump winning both Pennsylvania and, assuming he's going to win North Carolina, I think it's a good assumption, Georgia and Pennsylvania. Let me ask, I know you're not as big on polls. So T-Wall says, I think Trump is polling better than in 2016, 2020. This is why I'm bringing up polls. So polls obviously are just reflection of where things are today, and they're only scientific to a certain degree, okay? With that being said, in both 2016, 2020, the polls under factor, or let's put it this way, Trump overperformed what the polls said in both years. So it seems like anytime Trump is on the ballot, his support is undercounted. And T-Wall believes, and T-Wall, I'd really love to hear what you're thinking on this, because you actually are a suburban woman, and so that is the category that really many people think is what the election's going to be decided on. So I'd love to hear what you think on that. Napkin Nate says 10 more Truth Hurts show until election day. I didn't even think about that. Yeah. All right. So anyhow, looking at those numbers there, Jesse, predicting the future, where do you think this ends up? I mean, obviously, even if they win by 0.1%, it's a victory.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, Pennsylvania is the battleground. It's going to decide the election most likely.
Does Trump win Pennsylvania?
It's going to be close. I hope so. I mean, it's especially with some third parties on the ballot and whatnot. It's but one thing I was just thinking about in Georgia. Georgia's also another one that we need to pay extremely close attention to. There is going to be an opportunity for fraud in Georgia again, because Georgia has put two candidates on the ballot: Cornel West, Claudia De La Cruz. Cornel West is an independent. Claudia De La Cruz is the Socialism and Liberation Party candidate. Both of these candidates were placed on the ballot. The ballots are printed. People are voting early voting, and absentee mail-in voting is happening all across Georgia right now. The Georgia Supreme Court rules a couple of days ago that all votes for Cornel West and Claudia De La Cruz will not be counted, despite them being on the ballot. I mean, what kind of fraud is that going to set up for then? Because there's going to be all these ballots that, and these people aren't going to get a ton, but they're each going to get maybe a 0.5% or so, 1%. And if you're taking away 1% of the ballots and throwing them out, they'll count the rest of them. But, to say that their presidential vote can't be counted, that's someone's right to vote being stripped away from them, because how are they supposed to know that a candidate's votes aren't going to be counted if they're listed on the ballot? If you're listed on the ballot, the voter is going to be looking at it and thinking, okay, all of these people are qualified. I can vote for whoever I want, and my vote is going to be counted. Well, apparently not in Georgia, because if you're going to vote for one of those third parties, they're just going to throw your ballot out, and you're not even going to have your vote for president counted.
Which still makes a difference, though, in this race, because a lot of these polls they'll do both. Some won't even do both, but they'll say, is it Kamala or Trump? And then when you had third parties, and we talked about the New York Times Siena poll, when you actually asked if it was all the options instead of just Trump versus Kamala, it went from a tie to Trump winning by 2 points.
Right. And, that's the thing. These two being on the ballot definitely helps Trump. But the fact that these votes aren't going to be counted, we have to trust Raffensperger. We have to trust the, same people in Georgia, the county clerks that screwed it up last time. We have to trust them. And especially when we're giving them even more to do now, because we're saying you need to throw out these ballots. I mean, I don't understand. And actually, the Georgia Supreme Court unanimously made this decision, which means that even the Democrat-leaning justices and the Republican-leaning justices all came to the same opinion. I'm not sure how. And meanwhile, here we are in Minnesota, where Georgia's putting candidates on the ballot and then saying we're not going to count the votes. Here in Minnesota, we got candidates who aren't even constitutionally eligible for office. We got Dr. Shiva, who's going to be on our ballot. And, those votes are going to be counted no problem, despite him not being eligible. So, meanwhile, there's 2 candidates, Cornel West, Claudia De La Cruz. I mean, maybe they didn't meet the standards to get on the ballot in Georgia, but for whatever reason, they were put on the ballot. But it just doesn't make any sense that those votes are going to be thrown out. I think that it creates major potential for fraud. And, I think the fact that they're on the ballot helps Trump, but the fact that the votes aren't being counted hurts Trump.
Dustin, let's pull up C2. So North Carolina is an interesting one because it was in the Trump column for so long. It would seem like a pipe dream. Democrats are going to win it. Then the big story comes out, Mark Robinson. Of course, Mark Robinson's story seems very minor compared to what they're dealing with in North Carolina. But a Washington poll now has Stein, the Democrat, ahead of Robinson, 54%, to Robinson dropping down to 38%. And another poll from East Carolina University has Stein at 50% to Robinson's 33%. You followed this a lot more than I have, Jesse, but you're saying that it was about 50-50 polling going into this story.
Basically, the Democrat was up just a little bit going into this story, but then once the story hit, it's just been down.
And so it looks like basically maybe Stein got a little bit of a bump, but really the bigger story is a lot of people are withholding their vote right now from Mark Robinson.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know where the story goes. He's apparently hiring a law firm to investigate who created these fake comments in a porn thread.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. It's if that is not a real story, and this the media did this hatchet job against them, that's a big freaking story.
Yeah, and I'm looking at the results from 2020. So let's see here. It was less than 1.4% between Trump and Biden in 2020. So this election is going to be close in North Carolina. It's going to be one that people have to watch out for. And the fact that Mark Robinson is going to be dragging Trump down is a big problem. I'm not sure what the right answer is. I was telling you guys before the show that Mark Robinson was trying to push this Democrat to do a debate, and that was before the controversy had happened. And the Democrat was refusing to debate Mark Robinson. Now that the controversy has happened, I think Robinson needs the debate even more because he's got, he's this big personality. He's got a lot of character. He can be funny. He can be interesting. He needs a debate to be able to try to explain away some of that stuff. It seems like the Democrats not going to be willing. There's some third parties in this race as well. There's a Green Party candidate. There's a Libertarian. There's a Constitution Party candidate. The Constitution Party candidate, and I don't know if the Libertarian either, has not said anything about Mark Robinson's comments, which you'd think that if you're a third party candidate, this would be a heyday for you. You'd be thinking that, all right, I'm gonna win a bunch of support. But yeah, I think Robinson, it doesn't look like he's gonna step out. He's got too much pride probably to step aside. But the polls are not looking good. The best thing he could probably do is say, don't vote for me. I'm not voting for myself. Vote for a third party, because the only thing he's gonna do is continue to drag Trump down.
Tucker says Stein was out campaigning while the west half of the state was devastated by the storm. Stein just lost the election. I didn't know that. That's bad optics.
Yeah, no, and that's the thing. This guy.
Now imagine Biden fumbles.
Stein is totally an arrogant, full of himself attorney general. So it's not like this guy who Mark Robinson's going against is this standout politician. He's another crooked career politician that people are also not huge fans of. It just so happens that Robinson lost this election, and that's the thing. I'm not believing his little take on things. It seems like you're lying to voters by calling it AI, and you'd probably be better served just by being honest and saying I was joking around.
What if it really is AI? I don't know.
That's the thing, though,
because it's so believable that you and I are like, I think Mark Robinson screwed this up. By the way, if he really did it, just say it's different person, different time. To lie about is unforgivable in my opinion in politics. So if we go back to Trump versus Kamala, since we're going to do an Am I Racist review, let's review this new Trump ad that you just showed me this morning. This, in my opinion, is fantastic, and I think it's going to play out in probably all these battleground states. Go ahead, play. This is C5. There you go.
Greatness doesn't discriminate. It doesn't see where you're from, what you look like, or who you know. Greatness is for those who work for it, for those who keep moving forward. Greatness is for anyone willing to fight for it.
I think that ad is so fantastic.
incredible.
Here's why I think it's great. Because
It's probably my favorite ad I've seen out of his campaign. You know, even during the primary, all of that stuff during the primary, all of it. I think that ad really hits it. You know, I mean, if he just continues to play that thing throughout the swing states, he should win. I mean, just the symbolism to the shooting and everything, and you know, it's a unifying message.
Yeah.
And it's such a cool look. You know, the design of everything, like that's one of the coolest
but
ads
this
I've
is
ever
what's so
seen.
genius about it is you're getting inundated with ads. Even in Minnesota, ads are bad. But I mean, imagine these battleground
Oh,
states.
I mean, the Angie Craig, Joe Tayrab, it's nonstop with those ads.
Yeah, so just imagine you're in these battleground states and all you are seeing is just real videography, real people, all that stuff. And all of a sudden you get slow music, black and white, with dramatic reds put in there. And the first thing you hear is greatness. And you're looking at, obviously, Trump because he's so recognizable, even with a black-white skin. What do you call that technique they're using?
It's called a rotoscope.
Rotoscope. So
Just really quick, basically it's you take a video and then you go into Photoshop and you draw out every frame, like doing the outline and then whatever texture inside. It's a cool effect.
Great effect. If Kamala did something like this, I would say great as well. So then it breaks up what people are seeing, and you're going to grab people's attention. Because right now we're getting to that point where people's attention is they're just going to tune out on politics. It's like, you got to make an impression. We were just going through some pre-show of all these mailers I've been getting and just how awful they are. Like, you're not getting your message out because it's so wordy and the graphics are bad and the messaging is all over the place. Like, not going to work.
And especially with only 30 seconds, you know, that ad, you know, they could
Right.
even maybe trim it down even a little more if they wanted to. But I mean, that thing is like, it's
meant for a 30-second spot.
right,
obviously.
exactly. But you know, that's what I mean. That like it's they pack just enough information in there to where it's not overblown, but it's simplistic. It's
very
clean.
simplistic,
And
yep.
yeah, I think it was an awesome ad.
Oh, I think it's great. Okay, so let's get into Am I Racist? The movie. How do I phrase this? Comical documentary? I think we should do it. Comical documentary. This is by the Daily Wire, Matt Walsh's second movie. Let's go ahead and play the trailer. If you guys aren't familiar with this or haven't seen it, I'm gonna give you my review. Dawson, I haven't talked to it, but I sent Dawson there the other day, so I get to hear what he thought. And obviously, Dawson doesn't come from the same world perspective as me. He's not a far leftist either, but it's just like you're more mainstream, I guess, right? You're more down the middle of the road. You're more to the right of me on Israel.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, apparently Iran sent missiles into Israel.
Yeah,
I saw that.
they're doing
Well,
some
and you know,
crazy stuff
when
up there.
the president of Iran comes, you know, maybe you saw this too. That, you know, instead of going to make sure that Trump is okay when he's had all these assassination attempts against him, while Trump was going to go speak, they sent the Secret Service to go protect the president of Iran in the United Nations. You know, it's like, that is total bullshit. You know, I mean, what do we care about the president of Iran at this point? I mean, he is an enemy, and we have our people protecting him. Screw that. You know, I mean, these people need to be protecting Trump.
Yeah, but I also don't want to see world leaders been taken out right now either, because that's not going to do us much good.
That's a bad idea, because if Trump goes somewhere where they don't like him and it's like, don't protect Trump, I disagree with that one.
Oh my God, Bill Dingsford's
No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying that, you know, obviously it's, you know, Trump has Secret Service to protect him, and we shouldn't have Secret Service not able to protect him because they're too busy protecting Iran. You know, when we have the choice, when there's two options, Trump and Iran, you protect Trump.
I don't know, Jesse. It's not like they've been trying to assassinate Trump or anything lately. All right, let's go ahead and play this.
And Trump ties some of that to Iran.
Yeah.
You know, maybe there is some connection there.
All right, let's go ahead and play this trailer for Am I Racist?
Let's be clear, what's happening in this country, it's Nazism. Republicans are Nazis. You cannot separate yourselves from the bad white people.
Growing up in the 90s, I never thought much about race. Sure, you noticed, but it never really seemed to matter that much, at least not to me.
Being a white, straight, cisgender man, it's the top of the pile.
I'm on the top of the pile. That's me. Am I racist?
I would really appreciate it if you left.
I'm trying to learn. I'm on this journey.
Can you please leave?
If I'm going to sort this out, I need to go deeper undercover. If I want to be an ally, I need to look like one.
What is racism?
Martin Luther King said not to judge people by the...
Martin Luther King said a lot of stuff.
Is America inherently racist?
What the hell is that?
The word inherent is challenging there. America is racist to its bones. All of the...
So inherently.
Yeah.
The entire system has to burn. And I'm not going to even use save this country. This country is not worth saving. This country is a piece of shit.
Oh, sorry. Sorry.
They gonna say I'm racist.
Joining us now is Matt, certified DEI expert.
Here's my certification. Where are you guys on your anti-racist journeys? So I'll look around the room and point to who we believe is the most racist person in the room. We want to rename the George Washington Monument to the George Floyd Monument. Would you mind signing it? You will? What do you think about this issue of heteronormativity and how it intersects with the broader structures of racism in society?
They gonna say I'm racist.
What's up with white people? What are you doing to decenter your whiteness?
Who's making it the center? Why are they doing that?
And what you're doing is you're stretching out of your whiteness. This is more for you in this field. White.
Folks.
White.
Trash.
White supremacy.
White woman.
White boy.
White.
Entitlement.
White.
Centering.
White.
Silence.
Is there a black person around here?
So there's a black person right here. Does he not exist?
They gonna say I'm racist. But they call everybody
All right, this is in theaters now. Oh, that's
Oh.
oh, sorry. Well, that's good enough. By the way, that's what's her name? Robin something? The professor? D'Angelo. There you go. I'm just gonna give you a spoiler. He actually gets her to pay reparations to his black friend. That's I guess the producer on the documentary. Like literally, go into her wallet and hand the guy like $30 in cash. Oh my God, that scene was just to die for. Okay, so I absolutely love this movie. If you liked What Is a Woman, this one's even better. I didn't think you could outdo What Is a Woman. This one's better because you actually realize. Okay, so both are ridiculous, right? The premise that we're just a bunch of racists, like as you were talking about Tim Walz as appointee to the Department of Education.
Mm-hmm.
Like we're inherently racist.
Yeah,
so
irreversibly.
Irreversibly.
And that's the thing. It's so ridiculous, for him to say irreversibly racist, because that means that like there's no hope. That means that like you can't do anything. You're a racist forever, and that this country is doomed for failure, and that like it's all just bad. And it's like, you can't say that. What if people just aren't racist anymore?
Yeah.
Then is it still a racist country? But according to these liberals, they'll never be happy, and they hate whites. There is an anti-whiteism going on.
I still kind of think that Russia's the big enemy because it's a white country, and that's why they do it. But I don't know how true that is, but God,
Bill Maher says it's the opposite. Bill Maher says that Republicans and conservatives love Russia because it's a white country.
Oh well, if that is the case, then,
yeah, whatever.
Then why isn't that why the left hates Russia so much? I mean,
we got Rodeo 55 saying thanks for kicking me out of chat ? Dawson, did you kick Rodeo 55 out of here?
I don't know who Rodeo 55 is, and it looks like he just chatted that, so I would assume probably not.
No, probably something, unfortunately, with Rumble or something like that. So it's not only showing the ludicrous side of the left. In this case, it shows a hustle of the left. I didn't realize this whole industry. But like literally, and they showed the price tag, like to get the interview with D'Angelo, I think it was like $15,000. The two women that yell at white women at a dinner is like $5,000, and then that young girl, I think, who was doing the seminar, I think it was like $30,000 to get her to come in and do that seminar, which she got kicked out of. So that's the other thing, is it exposes a hustle. But the third part is this film was hilarious. It was so my buddy who I watched it with, who agrees with me politically, he's just not very political at all. I think he votes. That's basically civic duty. He said he hasn't laughed as hard as the scene. Like he hasn't laughed this hard in a while. The scene. So basically, Matt Walsh is wondering if he's racist. So he's going on this journey to find out if he's racist. And it concludes from all the lectures he's receiving that he is racist. So he needs to correct this. What can he do to correct it? He gets certified in DEI. He's got a card. It's a laminated card. It's hilarious. He pulls out his wallet. And then eventually when he's fully educated, he decides he's going to start his own hustle and do his own seminar. So the scene where he's doing his own seminar, there were so many funny parts, but the one where he's like, how racist am I? And he's got like, I don't know, a couple dozen people in the room. And it's a scale of people. It's got a black guy on the left, and it's a scale. It goes eventually Abraham Lincoln, Donald Trump, Hitler. And then people have to put like where they are on the chart of racism. Oh my God, we were on the floor laughing. Anyhow, I think this thing was like in the 9 to 10 range. Like I told Dawson, I actually gave it 10 stars because IMDb doesn't actually have a rating. If I was giving it a true rating, I'd probably put it like 9.3 to 9.7. I have to think about it. I was in the moment. It was late at night, but somewhere in that, we'll just say it's 9.5 stars. I don't think they could have done a lot better, and I'm not a guy that just inflates ratings. Like this one was top shelf quality, the videography, the writing, the setups of these things, like Matt Walsh's performance. I don't know. There's some parts where I'm like, I can't believe he's not dying laughing doing this. And the fact he actually got this, I mean, the greatest hustle is D'Angelo, this author and professor, to literally go into her wallet and give $30 to this black guy after charging $15,000 for the interview. The fact that he got her to do that is just monumental. Okay, that's my thoughts. Dawson, we haven't talked about it, so what did you think?
So I think that it's okay. So it's definitely not a movie for me. They're not like, I am not the kind of person who would go to my girlfriend and say, hey, let's go to Am I Racist? You know? I don't think that it's anywhere near a 10 out of 10 just movie-wise. When it comes to the shots, there were a few that stood out. I thought that excuse me. I thought that the music was pretty atrocious. It was like YouTube video music.
The rap music?
No, I'm talking about like the I don't know how to explain it.
Stop diagnosing the scores of the thing.
Hold on, you asked me for a movie review, and I'm giving you what I can.
People want to know what you thought of the content. They don't give a shit about the music.
I thought it was dumb. Again, it's not a movie for me. It's not something for me to watch and like go into liking. I don't think that my parents would enjoy it either. I think that it's definitely a movie that will hit harder with like the MAGA movement. I think that they'll really like it more than like my dad going in or me going in.
Did you not see the insanity of whatever you want to call this hustle, this, you know, whites are inherently racist thing? Did you not see the insanity? Did the film not expose that to you?
So I remember I went to a college where that was like a thing.
Right. So in many regards, I would think you'd be a great audience for this because it's like, oh God, they're actually exposing how much of a joke this is.
Because so yes, there are silly white people that want to self-flagellate themselves, and they want to, you know, pay black people reparations and that kind of thing. And I think that that's all ridiculous. But when it came to them exposing anything, when it came to Matt Walsh exposing anything, I thought that I was honestly really distracted by the fact that every interview that he had, the group session that he had with the black lady that was leading it was just cut to shit. Like that thing was edited like crazy, and I was distracted by that more so than him exposing anything really.
Yeah, but you got to edit it because first of all, a lot of things would be boring. If you're going to do a seminar all day with somebody, there's going to be a lot of boring slides, right? So just in that nature, you got to edit it.
Probably not worth a movie, really.
Yeah, but obviously if you're trying to expose the ludicrousness of what they're doing, you're going to edit to the things that are the most ludicrous.
Yes, but I don't think that movie did a good enough job exposing what was ludicrous about it. I think that if you went in not knowing anything about the ludicrousness, you wouldn't come out knowing anything more about it.
Interesting. Well,
I will say there were two spots where I chuckled.
Only two, huh?
Yeah,
okay.
One of them was sorry, I have a bunch of notes here. Oh, also a lot of the movies like cringe humor, like, oh, that's so awkward, like people are just like looking at him, and I'm just not a fan of that. But one where he was doing the last seminar or the workshop with people, and it was, can you smile too hard at somebody? I thought that the last image was really funny because it was like crazy looking. The guy with his eyes
Thank
wide.
God
and
you
stuff.
found humor in that. Okay.
Yep. So that picture was funny. And then I thought,
by the way, that came after. So once again, the Professor D'Angelo, he is doing some role playing with her. He goes, "Imagine I'm a black person. I'm in the hallway with you, and I come up to you, and go, you smiled at me, and I don't think that was really good that you were smiling at me. I thought you were insincere. How would you respond?" And she goes, "Well, I would ask like, how would you like me to interact? Well, I'm uncomfortable with even the questioning. I just don't. I want to let you know I didn't appreciate the way you smiled at me." He goes, "All right, now let's fast forward to tomorrow. We're both walking the hall. What are you doing?" "Well, I won't smile at you." And then imagine I came up to you and go, "Well, now you're not even smiling at me, so now I feel like you're actually being very disrespectful to me." And he's like, "What would you say then?" She goes, "Well, I don't know what to say. Is there a person I could talk to?" Like, her hustle was good. "Is there a person that you trust that I could talk to try to learn what to do?" And Matt goes, "Well, I would just prefer that you don't even go in the same hallway with me." And she goes, "Okay, well, that would be fine." I'm like, she's so nutty. She will never walk in the hallway with a black person because they make a ridiculous claim. And by the way, I know most people walk around don't think this way or do this kind of stuff, but we've all seen the videos, especially college students, and especially people like in like places like the Twin Cities and in Portland and Seattle and New York City that are so far gone on the leftist radical viewpoint that they literally, it's like those old videos where people like Black Lives Matter, people are just dining and they require people to put their fists up in the air. People are just like, "We're trying to dine," and then they like stand around and they're like threatening because you won't just lift up your hand in the air. So we know these people exist. I know they're few and far between, but they know exist. And she literally would not use a hallway because of these people. It's like, wow, that's how far gone they are.
Scuba McSalty says, if it was made by Michael Moore, Dawson would say it's 10 out of 10. Never seen a better movie.
Well, even Michael Moore can make some good movies.
Please go watch more movies. I'm begging you, please.
You got to give credit where it's due. Michael Moore makes some good movies.
Fahrenheit 9/11.
Yeah,
that one's awesome.
One of his movies, which was supposedly an anti-gun movie, was Columbine. What was that one called? Columbine. What was it? Bowling for Columbine. And it was really funny. You would think it was just this anti-gun movie, but he even makes an argument against it in the end, like saying that it's not just gun ownership that's the problem because Canada has more guns than us. And then he just trashes on the NRA and Charlton Heston. But, that like he's a good documentarian. He's just a far leftist who happens to also be very much against us. And I would argue, I'm trying to think, have I watched a documentary of his recently? I don't know. So I guess I couldn't comment on it. It's probably not been since Fahrenheit 9/11 since I watched one.
Okay.
By the way, it's very interesting, Fahrenheit 9/11 now, because remember who the bad person in that movie is? Do you remember?
Bush.
Well,
Cheney.
Yeah, the left actually thought the Iraq War, and rightfully so, was Cheney. Now they're out there touting Dick Cheney and John Bolton endorsed Kamala Harris. Like that's something good.
Wait, John Bolton?
Yeah.
Are you sure?
Yeah, John Bolton endorsed.
I don't think that's true. John Bolton didn't endorse Kamala.
I heard that the other day by someone I trust.
Let me check that out.
Okay, fact check me. I'm pretty sure John Bolton did too.
Fake news. Let's see.
Scuba McSalty says, "Lol, girlfriend, good one." Scuba McSalty doesn't believe that I have a girlfriend, and they're right. I don't, because I have a fiance.
What?
Yay! Mazel tov.
What are you going to tell us about this?
I wasn't planning on it, but just to rub it in Scuba's face, I'll do it. I think that's funny.
Okay. Well, we have to end the show. So we're going to talk about your proposal, I guess, in this whole news
we got
story.
post show.
In the post show. I did not know that.
Yeah.
When was this?
Like not too long ago. Like it was just earlier than last weekend.
You just going to not tell us about that? Oh, my God.
Uh-huh.
Well, I know where I rank in his world these days. All right. Well, my opinion... You should go see this movie.
All that I'm seeing on John Bolton here is that he said that her administration would look like 4 more years of Biden at least. So
that almost sounds like an endorsement,
right? I guess
I'm trying to remember who I heard say that.
Yeah, the last I heard.
I heard RFK say it.
Oh, okay. Well,
yeah, he was on Jordan Peterson. I would highly recommend watch the new interview.
Okay, well, I watched a clip of that, and I didn't hear that, but that's interesting because John Bolton, last I heard, he was writing in Dick Cheney. So that's my understanding of where his vote was going. I'll have to see because I haven't heard anything that John Bolton would get behind Kamala. And that's the thing. John Bolton's got his own screwy viewpoints on things. I wouldn't think he'd get behind her, but
Brad Ganser gives $1 Rumble Rant. Congrats, Dawson.
Thank you, Brad Ganser. I appreciate it.
I'll buy him a half a cupcake then. Yeah, it looks like he maybe construed that comment as a endorsement. It's like a quasi endorsement. I would say John Bolton's probably not going to vote for Trump. But, yeah, maybe it's a stretch to say he got endorsed. But anyhow, Dick Cheney clearly endorsed Kamala Harris.
There's no doubt on that.
So, and they love these neocons that are endorsing him. All right, we got to do the post show. We got an interesting thing in the post show. Story on Representative Josh Heintzman. This story's getting interesting. And we might have an interview with the other guy in the story coming on Thursday. I don't know if we'll get to this NPR quiz, but this NPR quiz where it tells you who your candidate is very fascinating. I'd love to do that with you guys in the post show. And then we'll hear Dawson's story on the proposal. I mean, this is news to me.
I will say, don't get super excited about it because it's not as exciting as you think.
Well, it's just exciting to know that this actually happened. Yeah. All right, so with that being said, if you want to join us in the post show and you're not a subscriber already, you can sign up for an account, $8 a month. It's basically local. It's just on Rumble. Click on join, and that'll send you right there. Also, we couldn't do this show without the great people that donated through the Rumble Rant, Brad Ganser, K-Wall, and T-Wall. And then also, what did we have? Who was the other one? Oh, Tucker did it.
We got a quick question from YouTube. It's asking, are you doing live coverage of tonight's VP debate?
We are not. I got to coach a football game, and
we'll cover it on Thursday, I'm sure.
Yeah, I'm not as big of a fan of doing live coverage of debates because we'd rather hear what they have to say. Like, if I'm responding to something Tim Walz said, and I appreciate you want to hear what I have to say about Tim Walz, but then we miss what J.D. Vance is saying in the debate. Mm-hmm. So the only time we would probably cover a debate is like a Republican primary debate where it's like, all right, we're going to talk over Chris Christie because it's probably not going to matter that much, so it's like, well, that I could understand, but otherwise I don't think so. All right, thank you.
One last thing on John Bolton.
We're doing a lot of last things here, okay?
It looks like Kamala maybe had him in an ad where, he's talking trash about Trump, so maybe that's why it's being construed that people think that he might have endorsed her, but it doesn't look like it to me. I think he's still got, I think Dick Cheney's still got one write-in vote coming his way.
All right, we couldn't do this with our great sponsors. Warren Wessel of Keller Williams Realty. If you're buying or selling a home, give my friend Warren Wessel a call. Go into johngaltmortgagecompany.com if you want to finance that new home. Good guys at John Galt Mortgage Company, and also Alpine Cabinetry in St. Cloud, Minnesota. For all you that are joining us in the post show, or if you would like to join us in the post show for the first time, become a subscriber, click on join on our Rumble page, our Truth Hurts Rumble page. For everyone else, we'll be back here on Thursday with a great show. Take care.